Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive, nearly 900-year evolution of human history. We are talking about the Vedic Age. Now, I want you to imagine a really dramatic shift. We're going from nomadic, cattle-herding tribes living in relative equality to a rigidly structured, settled, and territory-driven society. It's a foundational era that completely reshaped an entire subcontinent, and understanding it really helps us grasp how human societies evolve everywhere. Okay, let's dive into this incredible transformation.
Here's our roadmap for today's journey. We're going to start with the Aryan enigma, compare the Harappan and Vedic worlds, and then explore their unique cattle-driven economy. From there, we'll look at early Vedic society and their gods, see how the discovery of iron fueled a massive expansion, and finally, look at how all of this led to the rise of a strict social hierarchy.
Just to give us some chronological footing, take a look at the sheer scale of the timeline we're exploring today. The famous Harappan era ran roughly from 3200 to 1300 BC. But our focus is the sweeping era right after that. We have the early Vedic period from 1500 to 1000 BC, and the later Vedic period, which stretched from 1000 all the way down to 600 BC.
All right, moving right into Section 1, the Aryan enigma. Just who were the people that composed the foundational text known as the Vedas?
First, here's a really crucial point. The term Aryan actually represents a linguistic group. Specifically, people speaking Indo-European languages. It's not a specific race. And it's honestly fascinating how wildly historians debate where these people originally came from. I mean, Max Muller famously argued for Central Asia, while Julius Pokorny pointed to Russia. Bal Gangadhar Tilak even theorized they originated in the Arctic region, and Swami Dayananda Saraswati suggested Tibet. It's like a giant puzzle that remains heavily debated to this day.
Let's step into Section 2, Harappan versus the Vedic world, a complete reset. Let's compare these arriving people with their famous predecessors.
Notice the stark contrast here. The older Harappan culture was ermine, highly focused on trade, used copper and bronze, and had a written script that, as you probably know, remains undeciphered today. But then look at the Vedic culture. It's almost a complete reset. They were rural, focused heavily on cattle rearing, eventually introduced iron, and relied entirely on oral traditions, specifically memorizing the Vedas instead of using a written script. It's a great reminder that human progress isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it goes in a totally different direction.
And that brings us perfectly to Section 3, the cattle-driven economy. The early Vedic society was absolutely obsessed with pastoral life.
Take a look at this number, 215. That is exactly how many times horses are mentioned in the Rig Veda. They were absolutely critical to these people for transportation and, more importantly, for pulling their fast, spoked-wheeled war chariots.
But check out this other vital number, 176. That's the number of times cows are mentioned. You see, in the early Vedic period, there was no private land ownership. Historians consider it a gift economy. Cows were basically their currency. They were the absolute ultimate measure of a person's wealth. And this linguistic clue proves just how central cattle were to their entire existence. The word gavishti literally translates to in search of cows, but you know what it meant in their everyday language? It meant conflicts or battles. Think about that. Cattle were so incredibly valuable that the mere act of searching for them was completely synonymous with going to war.
And it goes even deeper, right into the family unit. The term daher, which they used for daughter, literally translates to one who milks cows. Think about how our own modern job titles or family roles reflect what we value today. The really crucial takeaway here is that even foundational family titles back then were derived entirely from daily cattle chores.
Moving right along to Section 4, Early Vedic Society and Gods. Let's examine how they organized themselves and who they worshipped.
Now, you might expect a really primitive or harsh setup, but early Vedic society was actually surprisingly egalitarian and tribal. It really challenges a lot of our modern assumptions about early human history. Social relations were based strictly on kinship. There was absolutely no caste division yet. The tribal chief, known as the rajan, was kept in check by democratic assemblies. We're talking about the Sabha, the Samiti, and the Vedanta. And notably, women enjoyed a very respectable position. They participated actively in these assemblies and even composed Vedic hymns as respected scholars.
But when it came to religion, their focus was highly materialistic. Just looking at the hymn counts here, they prayed heavily to male personifications of natural forces. Indra, the god of thunder and strength, completely tops the list with an incredible 250 hymns dedicated to him. Agni, the fire god, has 200, and Soma, the god of plants, has 120.
They weren't sitting around praying for spiritual enlightenment, they were praying for physical protection, victory in battles, and of course, more cattle. So, what changed all of this? Let's move to Section 5, Iron and Expansion. Here, we introduce the ultimate technology that permanently fractured their nomadic lifestyle.
To really understand this shift, let's track their trajectory on the map. The early Vedic people originally lived in the Sapta Sindhu region over in the northwest. But during the later Vedic period, they began this massive eastward expansion, moving out of the Punjab and pushing deep into the highly fertile plains of the Ganga-Yamuna Doab.
So what was the main factor driving this eastward march? Iron. Discovered around 1000 BC and referred to as Syama or Krishna Ayas, iron weapons and tools gave them a massive advantage. While it was mostly used for weapons like arrowheads and spearheads at first, this leap in technology allowed them to clear incredibly dense forests. This led to a sedentary, agrarian economy, with booming agricultural productivity. It's just mind-bending to think how one single technological breakthrough, kind of like the internet for us today, completely rewired their entire way of life. They were finally settling down for good.
Which brings us to our final section, number 6, the rise of hierarchy. Let's see how this shift completely changed their social fabric. With the sedentary agricultural economy came the accumulation of private wealth and territory. And as you can probably guess, that egalitarian tribal structure we saw earlier, it vanished. The later Vedic society completely fractured into the rigid Varna system. Duties were now strictly assigned based on birth. You had Brahmins as priests and teachers, Kshatriyas as warriors and protectors, Vaishyas handling trade and agriculture, and Shudras tasked with providing service to the upper classes. Society was now strictly and permanently hierarchical.
It's an incredible transformation, isn't it? From wandering tribes sharing resources to a rigid, settled hierarchy. I want to leave you with this provocative question to chew on. How does the transition from a nomadic, egalitarian tribe to a rigid, settled hierarchy mirror the development of modern civilizations globally? Think about how a single technological catalyst, like the discovery of iron, can permanently alter the course of human equality and society. It's pretty wild to think about. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.